Ladies and gents, welcome to the video. I'm GetGoodGuy, this is Battlefield 5, and today we're going to talk about the effect that content creators have on a game, such as Battlefield 5. Now, I know a lot of people come to this channel at this point for the funny stuff, and we are going to have a lot more of that, but today is a little bit more serious. And before we really get into the details of this today, let me just say that for those of you that think that what the creators say kind of hurts the game because we have bad ideas and then DICE put them in, or whatever it is, I can 100% confirm that DICE, as they are right now, with the management doing whatever they want, they do not care what the vast majority of us creators say, okay? They really don't. It's not really taken into consideration. Even the Game Changers program seems to have little impact from what I've picked up from reading what they think and talking to them directly. So no, we don't have that kind of impact, I promise you. Even the much bigger guys, they're not listened to as often as you might think. But anyway, now, to set the scene, a lot gets said about content creators for games, and BF5 is no different. In fact, actually, sometimes the scrutiny is more intense due to how the game performs. In Battlefield 5's case, not very well commercially, and so there's a lot of blame casting and such like. That's only natural, it's human nature. And the community gets to say, rightly so, whatever it wants about creators, and the creators are viewed as just having to kind of take it and accept it. And so I'm going to kind of break out of that today and cover some topics that I guess isn't really covered by creators generally. It's kind of avoided or seen as being not their place to say anything. But I'm just, going to say what I think, and that's why a lot of you guys come here. Let me know, on a positive note, who your favorite Battlefield 5 creator is in the comments below. Pick anyone except me, because this is my video. The results would be kind of biased, of course, so pick someone that's not me and put them in the comments below, and why if you want. And so let's handle some questions that I see come up a lot, or rather than questions, usually just accusations. Do creators fake positivity to stay in favor with DICE, EA, or some parts of the community? On the flip side, do creators fake negativity for different viewership? And are creators to blame for the game's failings either way? Well, I'm not going to speak directly for other people, of course, I can't do that. And I'm not going to specifically name names because I'm not trying to be Keemstar or anything like that. But I'll give you some insight plus logical extrapolations because, as I said, you guys never really hear this. The truth is, there's a complete range when it comes to creators. I can say this from myself being one, from interacting with other ones, from paying great attention to other creators, of course, because this is what I do, so I've fleshed out an understanding of it. And I'll say that most of the time there's no malicious intent from creators. They're not trying to achieve any great diabolical plan, they're not trying to bring the game down, they're not trying to ruin it for you, and most of the time, creators aren't trying to build up some kind of massive favor with DICE. Most of the time. It's just that bias causes issues, so if you're biased against the game, and you see someone that likes it making content, you maybe assume they're lying, or, or have ill intentions, and then there's the flip side that I get a lot. I criticize the game, and people call me a hater, and it couldn't be further from the truth. This is the game I cover. It being successful is good for my channel. I chose to play Battlefield in the first place because I enjoyed it, all that kind of stuff. It's not just me, there's a lot of creators that feel that way, but they get vilified because they bring up the issues which we think the game genuinely has. But of course, business can get in the way of total honesty and freedom. Almost all the creators that cover this game pretty much 100% know how many issues the game has and feel that it's basically unacceptable at this point. Yet despite that, I feel many do present far more positivity than it's reasonable to expect they otherwise would, because they're doing this for their income. It doesn't make sense for some of them, in their own minds at least, to drag the game down too much or to berate DICE or EA too much when this is their meal ticket. Not everyone has the same outlook as I do, of course, and some would argue they have a more sensible business brain, whereas I'm just much more on the nail and honest, and I'll just go, well, I'll accept whatever happens. I personally figure, and it's not just me again, there are others like this, that my community that I build up, whether it's on this game or another game, will see me through, rather than focusing on trying to avoid any issues with the game, with DICE, the story. And so some people do go way easier on the game, likely due to their ties to certain companies, or their sensibilities, as I've just gone over. And some do benefit massively from association, so they're less inclined to criticize harshly. I know of one creator that's got a video that's got over 1 million views, I believe. It's a tiny little video of something very specific, and they were invited out to record that footage. Something I'm probably never going to get, and that's, fine. I accept this is the way it is now. And fair play to them, they may as well use all the advantages that they have, but you can kind of see how that may stop them from being quite as critical as they might otherwise be, although they do at least sometimes say what they don't think is right about the game. It's just worded much more softly than some people, and the criticism comes less frequently. And then on the other side of things, some people do just milk negativity as well, without any attempt at solutions, or with good intentions in mind. Now, I say that I criticize the game a lot, but I do it because I think it's unacceptable the state it's in, I look out for the community, I offer solutions, and I also cover when things are good. So So the people that are just negative all the time, they have since gone. They milk the game for a while, you know, for the first maybe couple of months, and then they move on to another one. They're generally channels that do this. They cover a game negatively and move on so they can keep picking up massive views. Anyone still covering the game negatively right now isn't doing it for that reason. I can almost promise you that, unless they have no idea what they're doing on YouTube. So they've usually got good intentions in mind. Please keep that in your mind when you see this negative coverage from not just me again, from other people. Now, and I think this is a thing that a lot of you want to know, I have spoken to multiple creators for this game who basically wish they weren't stuck covering it. So of course they kind of put on the happiest face or voice or whatever they can while they're playing to try to entertain you, because on YouTube, as I've tried to explain to some people before, when they say just play another game, it is honestly not that simple. If your subs don't watch the content you put out for a video on a different game, that video dies. So you either have to be a massive creator or hit that game when it's fresh and new or exactly the right time, or get lucky, whatever it may be. The vast majority of people fail on YouTube to even become recognized on one game. So to spread out from that game to another one is extremely tough. So yeah, some people really do not want to be stuck doing this, but they kind of are. My point is that throwing all creators into one box and branding them is pointless. To say that YouTubers are to the detriment of this game is false in general. We're all people, we're all different, we all do different things. We're not one linked entity, we're not the Borg or whatever it may be. And so to also say that all YouTubers have great intentions and are looking out for the game and whatever, that's also false. It's just not true. It's a wide range, and we need to stop boxing people in, saying all streamers, or all YouTubers, or all of this community. I assume you see what I'm getting at. You have to look at the individual and keep in mind their intentions and their presentation. Now I know some people will bring up, well, how about the negative coverage of the game hurting the game? You know, with the vast amount of negative coverage out there, of course it put people off playing. Yes, absolutely. But that's not on the YouTuber. I tried to put this across to someone in a conversation recently. Look at the creator as the news source, or as the coverage source, right? They take the topic at hand, whether it's negative or positive, they communicate that, and therefore that dictates the result. It is most of the time not on the creator to worry about whatever the subject matter is or the result of it. Their focus is to report it to you because you are their audience. Otherwise you don't get content. This is as long as they don't have an ulterior motive or ill intentions, of course. And so I can speak about me personally here because it's kind of tied in with this, and of course I can't speak for other people personally. So I had someone put it to me recently in like a negative or critical manner that I was focusing on this game, that I felt like it was the only way I could get views, and that they didn't like that I would criticize the game regularly and then make videos kind of ignoring it to try and be entertaining. And I found that to be kind of ridiculous, okay? Because that's basically asking me to be a shill or a hater. Like it's telling me to choose whether I'm always going to be critical or whether I'm going to try to entertain, and that's just kind of weird to me. Why can't I just be honest? And why do I have to choose between them? Why can't I highlight what I think's wrong with the game for the community and also try to entertain the community? And I know a lot of people have that kind of outlook. Like, how can you criticize the game and then make videos on it? I don't understand the question because I don't see why I can't do that. Otherwise, I would just stop playing Battlefield if it was bad each time, and I mean, it's just not logical. It's not reasonable. This is what my channel is built on. And now, of course, I'm trying to branch out here and there, but it's very, very hard, and I'm not going to assume that's going to work. I'm going to keep going with Battlefield and try to introduce other things here and there to see if it takes off. And you'll notice a lot of creators do the same thing. And so yeah, I don't want to see if when a game releases, like when Battlefield 6 or whatever it's going to be called releases, I don't want to then see if it's good or bad and then limit my content accordingly and only cover one side. If it's good, do entertainment. If it's bad, do critical analysis. Why can't I do both when people seem to enjoy both on my channel? As recently, I've been doing a lot of the funny stuff, and that's been getting probably the best reception I've ever got out of anything, and yet here I still am trying to do the critical analysis stuff for other people because I know they want it, because I think it's important, and because I think it adds value. And so what I want you to take away from that is that covering a game to the extent that I do and others do may mean covering a lot of negatives or a lot of positives, in this case a lot of negatives, but it's not forced. We're just covering what we've been given. We would all prefer if the game was way more successful, if it was way better, it would have been far more beneficial for our channels, but that's not the reality of the situation. So we tell you what's put in front of us, we're just redirecting that to you. The focus is consistent coverage regardless of the subject matter. And I hope that fills in a lot of gaps for you and you at least somewhat enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you did have a good time or you found it useful or important, leaving a like is massive for me. I really appreciate it and it helps the channel to grow. If you're new here, please do consider subscribing and turning on notifications to stay up to date with the massive amount of content I'm putting out. And all the links to my social media, including Patreon, can be found in the description and my pinned comment. Here is the Board of Awesome for the epic people who already support the channel on Patreon. They're all absolute heroes and I love them all deeply and of course, often. If you want to join them on the Board of Awesome, the link to the Patreon page is in the description and my pinned comment. And with all that said, I am GetGoodGuy and I'll see you next time. Laters. Enemy type number 10, the aimbot. Okay, this is on PC. We all know it's a thing. People that cheat, people that use hacking software, people that are hitting headshots with the aimbot all the time. It's annoying, it's lame. Usually using weapons with a large ammo capacity like the Lewis gun you're seeing on screen right now. I don't have to say much about this. These guys suck.